Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phay, and welcome to the channel. People often ask me who my favorite fictional villain is. Why, Captain Hook, single handedly. Today, we're taking a look at Era, a historical card game by World Within. In Era, 2 to 4 players will lead a special historical group that's going to contain a deck full of leaders, inventions, or even technology. And what's going to happen is these are different things that have caused that particular era greatness. Okay, that's what it's known for. And what you're going to try to do is you are competing with your opponent to try to see who can recreate that greatness first. All right. I'm going to give you the rules to a 2-player game and explain that. There are rules for a 4-player game, which I'll leave you to cover on your own. But let me explain how to play, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. So to play Era, the first thing you need to do is you need to set up the game. So take all of the tokens and put them in little trays or off to the side, however you want to do it. Okay, but you get all the little tokens out and you put them all over the place. Then every person is going to be able to decide what Era deck they want to play. Now the base game is going to come with 4 different eras. All right, we'll start with just those. You take your Era deck, and in that Era deck, you're going to notice there's 10 red bordered cards. Those are the conflict cards. Give those 10 cards to your opponent and take the 10 cards from your opponent, and you want to shuffle those in your deck really well. I always like to make sure that they're still facing the same direction so you can't tell which ones are the conflict and which ones are not. All right. Once those are shuffled up, put your decks down, and you're ready to go. Now you got to do is figure out who's going to go first. Now you can do it however you really want. The rules basically say each person keeps turning over a card face up, back and forth, war style, until someone reveals a conflict card. Whoever reveals a conflict card first, that's the first player. Reshuffle your decks. Okay. Now let's get into the game. So the first thing you're going to do in the game is going to be your point earning phase. First turn of the game, this isn't going to happen, but what you're going to do is you're going to look down your tableau, and if you have any of the progress symbols, you're going to collect 1 progress token for each one of those symbols. If you have 15 progress tokens, you win, game over. Okay, not going to happen on turn 1, guarantee it. Then there's the resource gathering phase. In the resource gathering phase, what you're doing is you're comparing the symbols that you have on the resource cards you've played with the symbols that are on your tableau. Okay, and on a 1-for-1 basis, you can gain that resource. So if you have, like, say, 2 of the resource icons up in your resource area, but you only have 1 in your tableau, you can only gain 1. You only get to use it once. If you have 2 in your tableau and 2 up top, you can gain it twice. Okay, it has to be a 1-for-1 and you get it. But what are those resources, Ray? You ask me. What are they? Well, there's 3 different ones that you can actually get. The first one's going to be the harvest symbol. If you match up the harvest symbol, what you can do is you get to put a harvest token down on that particular card, okay, for every one that you match. Now, how that's going to come into play is during the card draw phase, where you're going to be able to draw your cards, you can spend a resource token or multiple. For each one you spend, you're going to draw 2 additional cards. There's the money token. The money token, those are going to go off to the side, and the money tokens you can use for a couple different things. The money token, you can actually use that to help you purchase cards, which I'll cover here in a little bit, or you can actually use it when you're combating your tableau to your conflict cards that your opponent has, and it's only for that. You cannot use it against the conflict cards of your opponent to their tableau. It's only for your side. The other one you're going to get is the build symbol. Okay, for every one of those you match, what you get to do is you get to take 1 card from your draw deck and you're going to turn it face up, and you're going to put it next to your build pile that you have that's face down. And those cards can be used for the star value. Okay, and that star value is going to allow you to be able to build. I'm going to cover this a little bit more, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But just note that for every one of those you match, you're going to draw 1 face up card and you're going to put it over there in your build area. The next thing you're going to do is it's going to be the card dealing phase. This is where you draw 8 cards. Cards are going to be face down. Do not look at them at this time. If it's the very first turn of the game, very first player of the game, you're only drawing 6. After that, it's always 8. Once you have your 8 cards and any additional cards that you may have based on any harvest tokens you spent, then what you're going to do is you have to commit cards to either the build phase or the conflict or you don't necessarily have to, but this is where this is done. You don't look at any of the cards. You can never look at any of the cards at this point, but you decide how many of those cards you want to commit to each one of those phases, and that'll make more sense when I get into building and everything else here in a little bit. Whatever cards are left over, those are the cards that you can now look at, go in your hand, and those are the cards that you actually can play. All right, now, what you want to do is you want to play cards from your hand. You want to be able to play them into your play area, and there's 3 different locations you can do that. There's a conflict area, and that's only where your opponent's red cards that you shuffled into your deck, that's where those are going to go. There's your resource area, and that's where your landscape resource cards are going to go. And then there's your tableau down below. Okay, those are the 3 areas you're going to be able to put those cards. The cost to put those cards in those areas is in the upper left-hand corner of the card. That's going to tell you how many of those face-down cards you have to discard to play that card. Now, if you had any of the tool icons, okay, and you have some of those face-up cards, you could use those stars, you can use those as well. So say you have a card that has a couple stars and you're playing a card that costs 3, well, you spend that 1 card plus 1 of your face-down, discard those, and you're good to go, okay? You put the card in your play area. And you're good to go. And what you do is you just keep doing this until you stop or decide you don't want to play any more cards. Once you don't want to play any more cards, this phase is now done. Anything that's left in your hand is just going to go into the discard pile. Now, there's other symbols and stuff that are going to come into play at this point in time, or when you play the cards. I'm going to cover those in a little bit because I want to get through all of the conflict a little bit, and then we'll come back to building because there's a really lot that can happen in building, a really lot you really want to pay attention to in building. The last thing you're going to do after you're done building is going to be the conflict step. Now, on the conflict step, what's going to happen is you're going to take the red conflict cards that you shuffled in from your opponent, and you're going to be able to use those cards to attack your opponent's tableau cards. All right. You can also use your own cards to attack the conflict cards that you gave your opponent. Okay. So eras can only attack eras. So you can never use your tableau to attack your opponent's tableau, and you cannot use your conflict cards to attack the opponent's conflict cards, so to speak. You can only attack cards of the same era. No cross-era stuff going on here. Now, the cards that can and cannot be attacked, you're going to look at the bottom of the card, on the bottom right-hand corner, and it's going to have a little symbol. It's either going to have a military symbol, it's going to have a ruin symbol, which is a skull, or it's going to have a might symbol, which is the little pillar icon. If it has a little pillar icon, it can never be attacked. That card is probably there for the rest of the game. I'm not really sure I know of a way to ever even get rid of it. Okay, it's just there. It's always going to be around. But what you're looking at is you're looking at the military ones, you're looking at the ruin ones. Okay, so you're looking at the conflict cards that you have, and what you're doing is in your main area, you're looking to see if you have any of the military icons or if you have any of the ruin icons. And then you look at the tableau of your opponent and you see if they have any of those same icons, because ruin can only attack ruin, military can only attack military. So how it works is on your opponent's tableau card, their little skull icon they have, all right, it's going to have a number on the inside of it. That's how many points you have to do to match it. So you look at your conflict card, you look and see, say you have 2 skulls. What that means is you can take 2 face-down cards from your draw pile, flip them over, and you're looking at the stars. If the number of stars equals whatever that number is in that skull, you will have destroyed that card. That card just gets discarded. If that card happened to be a card that had a progress token on it, all right, then what happens is you gain a destroyed token for destroying that progress. Okay, if you can manage to destroy 3 of those, that's another way to win the game. You don't necessarily have to have the 15 progress. You can just get the 3 destroyed tokens. All right, so try to destroy those if and when you possibly can. All right, so military attacks military, ruin symbols attack the ruin symbols, the skulls. Now, the one thing to pay attention to is flourish. I haven't covered flourish. That's in the build phase, and I'm going to go back and cover that one here a little bit more. But that's where you can actually stack cards on top of each other. So if you look at the build, okay, number on the top of it, you're going to see a small little number. That's the flourish cost. So what happens is when you have a card down that has a flourish number on it, you can pay the flourish to put the second one on the top. Now down in the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to see its military or its little rune symbol, but then you're going to see some cards with like a plus number. What that does is every one of those flourished cards on top of it is going to add to the strength. So if the initial strength of a card is say 3, and then there's a +3 with those 2 cards, you now have to do 6 damage to destroy that flourished stack. Okay. Now there's bonuses for you owning the cards that are also in a flourished stack, because if you have a flourished stack, you're going to get the icon that's only on the top card. But if you have an icon and then it's got a slash and a second icon. You only ever get that second icon if you have the flourish stack, if you have at least 2 cards in that stack, okay? That's when you're going to be able to get the flourish. And there's some other rules if you have multiple cards, one attack, multiple cards, but I'll let you discover those ones on your own. But for the most part, that's pretty much how that's going to go. Okay, just remember, you have to attack with matched icons, and you have to be able to do enough damage to take that particular one out. Now, the other thing you're going to find too is you're going to find the unique cards. There's a little unique symbol, a little plus by them. Okay, you're only ever allowed to have one unique card in play at a time. And if your opponent can ever take out or destroy your unique card, that unique card is going to go off to the side. Okay, it'll not go in your discard pile, and you may have others in your deck. But what it means is you can now no longer play that unique card. Okay, there's a certain situations where you can, but otherwise you can't play it again because it's unique and it's totally been taken out. All right, so you have to pay attention to those, and those just go off to the side as well. So now the other thing you're going to notice too is you're going to see, and I'm just kind of flipping through the book to remind myself how to do stuff, is you're going to see some arrow effects, and you're going to see some block symbols. Now the block symbols are, which is basically the red circle with the line going through it, that's basically saying you're blocking certain symbols from certain things happening. Okay, like for example, you can block, it'll block bilge or money being granted or something else. But you're also going to notice little arrows as well that might go forward to your opponent. They might come straight back to you. And what that's doing is that's saying that block symbol will affect one of or 2 of those. All right. If the block symbol has an arrow going forward, it means it only affects your opponent. If it comes back, it means it affects you. If it doesn't have anything at all, then that's going to affect your opponent. So if you have, like, say, a harvest symbol with an arrow going through it, it means your opponent has to ignore one of the harvest symbols on their tableau cards. That's how that one works. So definitely pay attention to those. The other thing that you want to pay attention to a lot is you want to pay attention to the locks and the keys, okay? Because this is really important, and this is a really easy one to miss. Because what happens is some of the cards have a little tiny icon on them that's going to have an A or a B on the inside of it, and I think there might even be a C, but it's a little lock with that letter in it. You cannot play that card into your play area until you've played a card in your tableau that has a key that has that letter in it, okay? Now, there are situations to where there are some cards that have those keys with an arrow. So for example, if I played a card that had, like, say, a key with an A and an arrow pointing to my opponent, that means I'm giving that key to my opponent, but I'm probably getting something just as good in return. So it's probably going to give me a progress token, but I'm going to give them an unlock of that particular letter. Okay, so you really need to pay attention to those as well. But for the most part, that's basically it. You're going to keep going back and forth. You draw, gather your resources, gather your progress tokens, draw your hand to 8 cards, figure out if you want to, do you want to put any to the conflict? Do you want to put any to the build pile? Put the rest in your hand. Do you want to build any more cards? Do you want to attack your opponent? And you're keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth till one of 2 things happens. Either 1, someone collects 15 resource or progress points, or 2, someone has 3 destroyed tokens. Whoever can manage to do that first wins. Era, a historical card game. Okay, folks, so that was a high-level explanation on how to play the game. I think I covered almost everything. There's a few little things here and there. My brain keeps telling me that I missed, but I think for the most part, I kind of got the overall rules, okay? If I miss something and I catch up on it, note it. I'll try to get a pop-up on there. I'll try to put a note down in the comments below. But I think for the most part, I'll hope that gives you a good idea of how this game particular plays. All right, now what do I think about this game? And I will say this is a unique game. I think this is a really cool game because it does some stuff that I haven't really seen before. I really like how at the beginning of the game, you're getting your progress tokens, you're getting your resource tokens, and you're gathering that. I like how the gathering of the resources is dependent upon the resource cards you put out, but it also is dependent upon the tableau cards that you put down as well. Okay, I think that is really cool. I think it's really unique and interesting that the fact that they're using the cards as purchasing power. You can either put a whole bunch of cards face down in either one of those 2 piles and be able to use them to build other cards or use them towards the conflicts, or you can just put them all in your hand and try to buy something, try to build something, okay? So it's really unique on how all that plays out. The conflict is really cool on the fact that the conflict cards that you get from your opponent are the only things that you can use to attack your opponent's tableau and slow him down. And the only thing that can attack you is the 10 conflict cards that you gave your opponent at the beginning of the game. So, if they don't have any conflict cards coming out, they're not going to be attacking you with anything because they can't attack your tableau unless it's with your own conflict cards, because eras can't cross attack. It's like, when you got Genghis Khan out there or something like that, and he's going up against NASA. Well, NASA's not going to throw a rocket down Genghis Khan's throat, although that would be kind of cool if you could do that. All right. Anyways, sidebar. I think that aspect of the game, honestly, is really cool, and it's really unique. I really like seeing the different eras out there competing, which is something that's really bizarre and really cool. Because, like, if you look at this, you have, what is it? Egypt, you have the medieval society, you have the space race, and then you have early Americans. Okay, those are the 4 eras that are going to come in this box set. So to see the early Americans go up against NASA is, it's really cool. I mean, just because you don't think about it, but it's like, okay, one side of the tables, I mean, they're playing cards with nothing but rockets and everything else, and you'll get a conflict card out there that's going to have something to do with that. But at the same time, you're early Americans, so you got like Washington and Grant and all those guys, and you're putting them on the table and you're throwing down some Constitution stuff. And it's like, it's kind of really bizarre how that works. It's like playing a deck building game, but the deck's already built for you. Now, pros and cons of this game, and I have a little of both. Okay. One of the pros of this game like I said, I really like how there's a lot of decisions you really have to make. Okay. How do you want to sort out your cards? How do you want to put them to conflict? Do you want to put them to the build? Okay. Now, take in mind, every era plays totally different. Some eras are going to have that build icon in some of their cards, which is going to give them extra build cards. So they're going to be able to build things faster, but they're going to have some higher cost cards as well. Other eras won't have that. They may have the harvest. Okay, so the harvest is going to allow them to draw more cards and get them into their hand, so they can be able to build faster that way. Okay, so I think it's really cool that we get to see a wide variety of differences between the different eras. Some eras have more landscape resource cards than others. I've noticed. I have to go back and look, but if I remember right, some have more, some have less. So you may or may not see those. Now, one of the disadvantages I would say to this game, one of the drawbacks that I have to this game is a few of the games that I've played, one of the problems I've had is I can never get my resource cards out. Some of the decks just don't have a lot of resource cards, so you just take it for what it is. Or I can't get my conflict cards out. Okay, so you have to really think about how you're playing your particular deck. Now, every deck plays totally different. Okay, and you really want to go through the cards and look and see what the different cards are. There's a lot of multiples of every card, so there's not a ton of each individual one, okay, or a ton of mass variety, let's so to see. So you have a 40 card deck, there's not 40 different cards, all right? So you want to have an understanding of how that particular card plays, or that deck plays, by looking at the cards. And you want to try to understand how to play, because if you're not getting the resource cards out that you need, one of the things you may need to do is you just may need to say, you know what? I drew my 8 cards. I'm not going to commit any of them to the build or any of them to the conflict. I'm just going to play all of them. And all I'm going to be able to play this turn is maybe resource cards. Because maybe you have a bunch of cards in your tableau, but they're just not doing you any good because you can't get those resources. Okay. Maybe you spend a turn and you just, dump cards into your build and dump cards into your conflict area face down. So that way, the next couple turns, you're just trying to get as many cards in your hand trying to play. So you have to kind of weigh each one of those with the deck that you're playing. Okay, what's going to be the best strategy to use for each one of the decks? I know that the NASA deck, the NASA has that build, and if you can get a couple of those build icons out to where you're, drawing 2 cards every turn, and those 2 cards are going to give you, say, 8 build icons. Say you get lucky and both cards have 4 stars on them. Okay, that's 8 build. Well, for a fact that if you've already got a few cards in your hand, right, or in your build pile right there, you don't need to commit any cards to it because you have a ton of build. Whereas your opponent, if they're not getting any of those resources out, like hopefully maybe a harvest or something else, or they don't even have the build, it's really slow for them to be able to play the card. So I've seen some cards kind of go both ways. Or not some cards. I see some decks kind of go both ways against each other. I mean, I've played the NASA deck a couple times to where sometimes I play it, I get massive build every time I play it. But then the next time I play it, it's like, man, I can't get that build resource card out to save my life. So, you have like, I think it's 40 cards in your deck, plus I think the resource or the conflict cards. Man, my brain. So you have like 50 cards that are going to be in your deck, if I remember right. So sometimes, yeah, you just have to maybe not play any cards, anything, and just try to get those resources out. It all depends on how the cards come out and how the cards play. But I'll say this: it's a really unique game. It's different than anything that I've really played. Okay, and I like that. That's one of the things about this game that I really like. I may play this game and I'm like, oh man, I can't do anything, but it's really cool to see how the game plays out. And it's really cool to see how, I can flourish this particular card and try to get resources based on this, or I can try to, get victory points if I can do this. And you know what? This one's going to get me victory points and I can flourish it. And it's going to make it harder for my opponent to take out. Okay. That's really cool. The one thing that I can say that I probably don't necessarily like about the game is there's a lot of cards, and I find some of these cards are very powerful, that do have that little might icon on them. You cannot remove them. You cannot take them out. Resource cards, once they're played, they're pretty much in play. So if you have these resource cards that give you a couple build icons, and then all of a sudden now you play cards to your tableau, which may be cheap to play, that also give you the same build icon, that person, and I think NASA deck does this, that deck is going to be able to build massively fast, and you're going to be able to get a lot of cards in play. It's like you're getting so much build every turn that you can have more cards in your hand than you're going to be able to put in your build deck, which is you're going to get more cards down in your tableau. Now you're going to be able to do a lot more attacking. You can try to hopefully take out the conflict cards the other person's playing. Okay. Now, that's just one of the things I've noticed based on what I played. There's a lot of decks that are in this game. There's 4 that come in the core box. Okay. And I've played all the decks. I like how the decks play. I think they're all unique in their own different way. The only thing I can't speak to is I can't speak to the balance, really. I think I need to play it a little bit more to really figure out how well they're balanced and to really understand each one of the decks. It's one of the things that I need to go through, but it's one of the things that I really want to go through. Okay. Because, no matter what I'm saying here, I got my pros, I got my cons. I still like this game. I still want to play this game, and I'm really intrigued by this game. Okay. And that's what this game does to me. This game gives me something that I don't have in any other game, and it makes me want to play it. Okay. Now I can't say that's necessarily true for the other people that I play with. I played with some people that are like, nah, I can play it, I cannot play it, I don't know. I play with some people like, yeah, that's actually a cool game. I want to play it again. I want to try a different era this time. I want to see how the different eras play out. And that's what I really like. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. So I still want to play this game. I still want to play it a lot and see how it goes. Now, one of the things that I plan on doing is the nice thing that the designer did is he actually sent, okay, there is all these other eras, these era boxes, okay. We have the Cold War, we have World War I era deck. Looks like there's an Inventors deck, a Mobsters deck, an Ice Age deck, oh my gosh, a Renaissance deck. There's a Tycoon era deck. What do we got? We got the Roman deck. We have the Samurai era deck. We have the Mayan era deck, and we also have the Wild West era deck. Okay. He sent all these. I would love to play all these, and I'm going to try to get those played. But what I'm going to do too is I want to go through and I'm going to actually probably do some videos on each one of these decks, because I want to show you the cards that are going to come with these decks. So that way if you get this game, if you want to look into other decks, say, the Mayan deck here, okay, say that's something that really, sparks your interest and something you want to look into, let's give you an idea of what's inside that deck. So I'm going to do some unboxing videos or just some review videos based on those, some simple videos. But as far as this game goes, I like this game. This is definitely a game that I'm going to say, try it before you buy it, if you can. If it's a game that, hopefully based on the information I've given you here, if it's something that sparks your interest, you may be interested in this game. If that's the case, give it a try, okay? Definitely do that. But it's, like I said, it's definitely a unique game. It's one I've had to go through the rules a couple different times just to kind of verify myself that I'm doing something correct, making sure I'm not missing something. Because it is. Sometimes it's really easy to miss those little lock symbols. Sometimes it's easy to forget about, doing something. But it's also one of those games that you really need to make sure that you do your orders correctly. You make sure you do your progress tokens. You make sure you do your resource, then get your cards, and then go through your conflict. So continue to do everything down those orders. Do the order of operation the way the game needs to be played. That's what I'm trying to say. But there you go. Era, historical card game. I like it. I want to play this more and more. I want to play through all these decks. I want to see how this game really stacks up. I really want to see how the balance is. I'm definitely going to say try it before you buy it. But if you like unique, interesting, historical type games, I think this is one that you may like and you may want to look into it and give it a try. Well, thank you once again for joining me today. As always, I please ask you to like this video on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on Facebook, and also on X. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you like the content I provide, I humbly ask you to click on the subscription button, join my little family here, and even click on that bell to be notified when I drop new videos. Also, if you like the content I provide here, I also do post videos over on the Discriminating Gamers website. I'll do reviews, unboxings. We'll even do some playthroughs over there as well. I will leave a link to Cody's channel down in the details below. You know, it takes guts to be an organ donor.